are these people?
I've been an admirer and a fan of Gordon Dimmack since the day I knew who he was, because of the way that he's fought for Julian Assange and sacrificed and showed up repeatedly. Lives in the UK. He's recorded videos, done TikToks, and he also writes. So he recently created a new website for all of his work, GordonDimmack.com. He's also building an electric bicycle there, so you can learn all about that too. I think it's called The Predator. But he wrote an article this week. He's been writing a bunch over there recently, and I'm glad he has. He created a new WordPress site, and he wrote this article, which he even tweeted might be the most important thing he's ever written. And, you know, they say the revolution will not be televised, right? Who was that? Was that Kwame Ture that says that? I don't remember who said that.
No.
Very famous. Anyway, he says the truth will not be printed. So go GordonDimmack.com.
Will not be televised.
Thank you, that phrase. The truth will not be printed.
Revolution will not be televised.
They've killed journalism. Start with this video. Just watch it. He says this is how most of the British political and media class think. But the IDF is sniping children in the head. Whether you like it or not, Israel's our ally. What? IDF soldiers say they were ordered to shoot Palestinians waiting for food. How can we not support our ally? This is Britain's commitment to the rules-based order summarized. Rules for the rest, but not for the West and its allies. So, as long as you're allied to Washington and London, the British political and media class will excuse all kinds of atrocities and despicable war crimes. When these people tell you they have shared values with Israel, believe them. They share the values of genocidal colonial barbarism. Now, I'm going to play this. I hope it's not going to be too loud, and if so, I'll turn it down.
Nobody. It was just
I feel like that fake tan
what
might...
Bob Dylan said. I think the chant has just helped nobody. It was just a really stupid thing to do. I understand why. There's a lot of anger, but let's just talk about Lisa Nandy here and Keir Starmer and just this incredible selective outrage, which I find impossible to stomach, right? She finds it in her heart to rush to Parliament, to stand up, to question and demand answers from a BBC allowing this streaming of this band, making this chant. She doesn't rush to Parliament to demand answers and concrete action on the actions that we are seeing live streamed to us daily of the IDF, who are committing alleged war crimes at the direction of their Prime Minister Netanyahu, who has an arrest warrant out for, again, war crimes.
Is that, hang on, let's just get I hear you, and I understand what you're saying completely.
Fuck you.
Annunziata, what's your response to that? How can someone be outraged about villain and not outraged about people being shot up in food queues?
It is a very different thing to call for the deaths of our allies' armed forces.
No.
That is going against our country's interests, and it is calling for people to be killed.
But the IDF are snipering children.
It's whether you like it or not.
Technically their ally as well.
Who's? Russia?
Like,
England? No.
The Britons.
No.
Pretty sure.
No way. No, there's a proxy war happening. There's a proxy war happening.
Uh-huh. Yes, that's why it's a proxy war. Like, technically, they're supposed to be our allies, too. We're doing the same shit.
Listen to me, Israel are one
all the time.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
there's another minute.
Like, I'm sure there's multiple instances where Britain fucking, like, people on British media have called for the deaths of an ally's fucking, like, army, you know?
We got another minute and a half of this genocidal fucking mental gymnastics, so let's watch.
Our allies.
So if they're because they are allies.
Hang on, Maria, just one sec. Let Annunziata say her thing.
There are still hostages being held from a festival not dissimilar to Glastonbury, standing for peace, where the people attending were attacked, killed, raped, and taken hostage.
All right, Marina, let Marina talk.
But I'm sorry, children are paying the price. And are we saying that because they're our allies, we have to stand by as they sniper kids in their head?
And Hamas are using the humans in Gaza as human shields. They are using the people and the children.
Okay, let me just show you the late. Hang on, let me show you the latest on this. Hang on a second.
The IDF is using people as human shields because they literally are placing their headquarters next to hospitals.
I know how strongly you both feel about this.
Every accusation.
Just some information here, which is an Israeli newspaper actually called Haaretz. Yeah. This is an important article from the weekend where they say that IDF soldiers were ordered to shoot at Gazans who were waiting for food. So that was a development.
And laughing about
it. The question is this. How can we be angry at villain and not even more angry about that?
How can we not support our allies? That is what the country has set as our mission. That they are our allies. That we
answer
are
the fucking question, lady.
This is a war where there is one side on the right, one side on the wrong. Hamas have done the wrong.
Wow. Which one?
Wow.
However, everyone wants there to be a solution. We're not going to.
Wow. Wow.
Fucking
all she can say is
brain rot.
In under 2 minutes, it captures the rot in British media and politics better than most documentaries ever could, as our friend Gordon Dimmack goes on. The woman speaking in the video, that's Marina Purkis, 482,000 subscribers on Twitter, a podcaster and regular political commentator on TV. Very successful. She's basically saying, to hell with children being shot in the head. And remember, this isn't some fringe live stream or YouTube podcast. This is daytime television, the Jeremy Vine show, which is kind of like, I guess, like Donahue or Dr. Phil here.
Probably.
She's arguing in plain English that it's okay if Israel shoots babies in the head because they're our ally. And apparently that means we don't get to criticize them.
How dare you not support our ally?
When are war crimes now below an allyship? I thought war crimes superseded that. And apparently that means we don't get to criticize them. Doesn't matter how many international laws they violate. Doesn't matter how many rights they trample, human rights they trample. Doesn't matter how many dogs rape their prisoners. Doesn't matter how many 7 months pregnant mothers they shoot in a one-shot to kill. It doesn't matter if it's apartheid, ethnic cleansing, genocide. It's all fine. It's fine because they're our ally. This is a state that expands its borders by force every single day. A state in violation of, I believe, more UN resolutions than every other country on earth combined. Yet we stand by while it shoots babies in the head while their mothers hold them. While it mows down 500 starving people going for flour. Because that's what this is. Genocide. But we mustn't criticize because they're our ally. Marina has a very big platform to say these things that defend sniping babies in the head. Tell me this. Where has Israel ever come to our aid, meaning England? Did they help us in Iraq, in Afghanistan, the Falklands? Can you think of a single time Israel sent troops to help the UK in any war? No, because they're a satellite. Here's something that might even interest these so-called right-wingers. Not that I love the label. Our entire military, it seems, is over there in the Middle East protecting Israel's borders and stoking the very conflicts that led to the worst mass migration crisis since World War II. Meanwhile, our own borders, wide open. Anyone, Tom, Dick, or Harry, or whatever their name is, can show up on a dinghy unannounced. Maybe, just maybe, someone should question the relationship between those two facts. Huh. I wonder if Nigel Farage has ever connected those dots. Right? Any Ukrainian names? I think not. Yet we let them violate every law, every human right, and we say nothing. Worse, we silence anyone who does. This is the UK shitting all over international law, and the only journalists who get to speak, who get reach, who get platformed, are the ones who don't point it out, the ones who toe the line, the ones who justify sniping babies in the head. People like me, moi, we get silenced. We get our reach throttled. Because heaven forbid these thoughts, these inconvenient truths, ever reach the political sphere. This is the UK wiping its ass with the Geneva Conventions, with human rights, with international law globally. We're torturing journalists, hijacking aid ships, backing genocides, and pretending we're still the good guys. And the media, they're not just ignoring it, they're enabling it. They're whitewashing it too. Every time they look away from what Israel is doing, every time they ignore the hijacking of the Madeleine, yeah, that really did happen. Israel really did board a ship and take it over and arrest everyone on there and deport them. Every time they pretend Julian Assange wasn't psychologically and physically destroyed in a Belmarsh cage. Every time they let the government kick disabled people to the gutter with benefit cuts that border on eugenics. Every time they do nothing. That's not neutrality. That's complicity. They're supposed to be the fourth estate, to hold power to account. Instead, they've become its PR department. Stenographers. Well, he would say estate. He says he saw this firsthand. A few years back, Gordon was on a train, headphones in, but he wasn't listening to music. Two journalists were sat nearby talking shop. Both worked for the I paper. I wonder which one that is. They were discussing Ukraine or something. After a while, I introduced myself and told them I covered politics on YouTube. They asked what I thought of the topic they were discussing, and I said this, quote, "I'll tell you all you need to know about that. There's a genocide going on in Yemen right now. The UK is backing it, arming it, training the pilots. With the help of the US, we're even refueling their planes in midair. Every week, a transport plane sends parts to Saudi Arabia from the UK to service the planes bombing water towers during the largest outbreak of cholera in human history. We're doing everything but pulling the trigger." One of them looked stunned. She told me she'd been trying to get an article published about that exact thing, but she never got it published. What did she get published sometime later? A piece based on a press release from Ukraine's so-called Ministry of Truth, claiming Russian soldiers raped dozens of women in a basement of a basement. 9 of them were pregnant. Human Rights Watch interviewed one of the victims by phone. No verification, no investigation, just stenography. It was published in just about every Western outlet you could find. Ukraine war, girls and women raped in Bucha basement, officials say. Again, no evidence, no names, no medical verification, just war propaganda dressed up as journalism. And it ran around the world before the truth even laced up its boots. Each article had slightly different wording, but they all ran with the story uncritically. Because that's what happens when one of the wire services puts this shit out. And let's not forget, the Ukrainian official at the center of these claims wasn't part of the Ministry of Defense, but was in fact Ukraine's Human Rights Commissioner. She was eventually dismissed for focusing too heavily on sensational, unverified sexual violence claims that experts said lacked evidence and harmed the credibility of actual human rights work. But
and
sure,
don't go look up stories like Ukrainian baby factories. Don't go look up any of those stories like you can on INN News. You can,
holy shit.
You can go check that out there.
Even Deutsche Welle reported that international observers were alarmed by how these unsubstantiated claims were being weaponized, prioritized for media attention, while verified violations were underreported or ignored. Because they like sensationalizing rape, every accusation is a confession. Yep. This is how propaganda eclipses justice. The fake gets the headlines while the verified gets buried. This is how the system works. And the cost of telling the truth in this country? Ask the people who dared. Richard Medhurst threatened with terrorism charges for reporting on Gaza. Craig Murray in prison for jigsaw identification in the Alex Salmond trial. Asa Winstanley, house raided and ransacked, charges later dropped for his reporting on Palestine. Fiona Ryan, raided multiple times by police, arrested on one occasion for saying, "Make Christmas Palestinian again." Bethlehem, by the way, is in Palestine.
In occupied Palestine, yep.
All of these are UK examples. All of them face intimidation, arrest, or exile. And that's nothing compared to what happened at Palestine Action this week. We'll get to that next time.
Yeah.
Gordon says, one of my friends is currently abroad. They know as soon as they return to the UK, they'll be arrested. Not for violence, not for hate speech, for telling the truth. I'm guessing that's Kit Clarenberg, but I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
It could be a bunch of them. It's not that journalists don't know the angle. They do. Not that, but they also know what won't get published. So they fall in line. Not because they're being directly censored, but because they know what's expected. They know what pays the rent. Like Chomsky said to Andrew Marr in Manufacturing Consent, I'm not saying you're self-censoring. I'm sure you believe everything you say. But what I'm saying is, if you believed something different, you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting. All right?
Correct.
That's
They
right
know
here.
what they're buying.
Is a censoring organization.
You probably
Tell me
can't
how
play
that
that,
works.
I bet.
You're not suggesting that proprietors...
Is this
phone one
BBC?
Probably.
Yeah? Okay. I will.
Or someone owns it.
It was only 8 seconds. There were train cancellations that day. I met the iPaper ladies, and they were in the cheap seats with me. The train was packed. I remember them saying the word scoop about a dozen times and how they were jealous of some colleagues who were more connected than they are with more prolific with leaks from insiders. Scoops. That was the obsession, not truth, not justice, just scoops. Okay? If you come at stories through the lens of international law, you're out. If you try to hold our side accountable, you get kicked to the edge. John Pilger, Robert Fisk, Glenn Greenwald, Chris Hedges. The rule of law is supposed to be universal, but here, it's a tool of power applied selectively. Let's talk facts. Israel has violated more UN Security Council resolutions than any other country on earth. As of 2023, over 45 binding resolutions have been passed against Israel and either ignored, vetoed, or violated. Meanwhile, the UK government has consistently blocked or watered down resolutions calling for ceasefires, arms embargoes, or investigations. In 2023, the UK cowardly abstained or voted against UN measures seeking accountability for war crimes in Gaza. On nuclear weapons, Israel is not a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Proliferation Treaty.
It has never declared its nuclear arsenal, yet is widely believed to possess between 80 and 400 nuclear warheads. Of course, we know the secrets for those
big
warheads.
Fucking difference between 80 and 400. You might like to know the exact number. Would be nice.
And of course, the BBC, according to a new analysis by Declassified UK, the BBC published over 100 articles on Iran's nuclear program in just 3 weeks, while only 6 of them even mentioned Israel's nuclear weapons. 5 of these mentions were a single line buried in the final paragraph and always caveated with Israel denies this, of course. Only 1 article explored the subject with any substance in the 9th and final paragraph. Denies that they have nuclear weapons.
Like, are they denying that they have them?
Yes.
Okay.
Even RFK admitted that he knew, and that they admitted to him that they had them. This is the scale of media complicity. Right. It's not passive ignorance. It's active narrative management. And when the rule of law breaks down like this, anarchy follows. And not the kind with mohawks and petrol bombs, the kind where war criminals wear suits and the press hold their coats. And here's the thing. When the government no longer abides by the law, when they openly ignore international treaties, human rights conventions, and their own legal standards, why should anyone else? This is how society breaks down. Not overnight, not with riots in the streets, but with a quiet, corrosive loss of legitimacy. When people see their leaders commit crimes with impunity, something fundamental breaks. This is what the government is flirting with. And the terrifying thing is, I don't think they even know, let alone have any plan for what happens when that dam finally bursts. Well, they all got theirs, so they'll be fine financially. That's how they all see it. take a few minutes to watch this video to see what's exactly in store for us if we allow our governments to continue. When a people realize the law isn't there to protect them, they turn to violence. All right? This is the director of the International Center of Justice for Palestinians speaking at a panel in London titled Genocide in Gaza, Trump's Policy and the Crisis of Law and Media, organized by the ICJP. All right? I'm not going to show that, but he says, we're not in democracy anymore. We're in managed decline. And journalism, the one thing that was supposed to hold the line, is too busy chasing click-throughs and Whitehall invites. And the so-called journalists, they know. They just know it won't get published. So he says, here's a final word. And look, I'm really trying here. This is me doing everything I can to keep the truth alive, to document the hypocrisy, to fight for people who can't speak freely anymore. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for fame. I'm asking you to share this. Just share it with one friend on one feed, wherever you can. Because silence is what they want, and your voice might be the thing that breaks it. Julian Assange once wrote to me from Belmarsh, truth ultimately is all we have. And as he said before, censorship is always an opportunity because it reveals a fear of reform. Remember that the next time they try to silence you. Again, this is our brother, Indie Media Award honoree Gordon Dimmack at gordondimmack.com. His new website is over here. I encourage everyone to subscribe to it for free. I'm sure there's a donate link. This, again, is the Panther, the electric bike that he's building from scratch, built by us, built by him. There it is. Very cool. So, and then again, there is also his journalism, which you can get to here by clicking on blog. And this is where you can get to his political dispatches, which are all of his articles. He wrote this morning about Palestine Action isn't a group anymore. It's a movement now that they've been outlawed in the UK. Horrible stuff. And I appreciate my brother Gordon for doing that. Support independent media. That's what we do. We read independent media and independent journalists' articles. We read the whole thing. We let you figure it out for yourself. We don't try to tell you what they're saying. We let you hear it and figure it out for yourself. Really important stuff. I'm going to ask if you're able to, out of means, to please support the media you want to see. Yeah, these amazing people, this is our wall of fame. They've supported INN with some kind of contribution somewhere. The best places to do that are at Cash App, $, Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, over at indienewsnow.com. That's our website, which also has a bunch of news from a bunch of other places, including Gordon's article, by the way, as well as the next one from Dissent in Bloom, linked to it. Also at Substack, INNnewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com. Both of those go to Substacks where you can support financially there with a monthly or annual subscription. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. I love you all, and we'll see you soon.
See you in a bit, fam.
Mwah. Ciao, baby.
We are party.
Bye-bye! No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard.